Stitt continued his out-and-out war with the tribes in Oklahoma, which again, weird hill to die on because people like the tribes in Oklahoma. Like, these are not entities that have, not upheld their end of the bargain when it comes to like supporting the state of Oklahoma. I mean, they build hospitals, they start giant industries that employ tons of people. There's evidence, lots of evidence coming out now about that they actually drove the vaccinations for the state of Oklahoma, like how we got it out real fast and got a lot of people vaccinated and all that. It's like tribes are doing the work, and so Stitt's just like constant attempt to antagonize them on stuff that with McGirt may not even be legal is pretty incredible, in my opinion. So anyway, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt said he will not renew standing hunting and fishing compacts with tribal governments after they expire this year. The agreements with Cherokee and Choctaw nations, which the governor has previously praised for generating funding for the state conservation efforts, have been in place since 2016, but have now been terminated effective December 31st, 2021. The governor previously approved the compacts in 2019 and 2020. So again, this is like the cut off your nose to spite your face. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say what his strategy here is. And the other thing too with the tribes on this is you're rolling into potentially a tough election year. Possibly wouldn't go and just piss off for absolutely no reason, these multi-billion-dollar entities that have a billion reasons to want to come get your ass. But anyway, here he is.
I mean, big thing. So, Cherokee Nation was the first to come out with saying something, and then all five tribes came out immediately afterwards. I think it's really interesting watching some of the reactions from members of the tribe talk about, you know what, at this point, like, we just don't care. Like,
Yeah.
they care, but like not in that regard. They care about like, we'll just do it ourselves, just like every other tribe across the rest of the country who permits doing this on like their own reservations or lands. I mean, to be quite frank, I mean, this is Kevin Stitt going to war with the tribes of the state. First was the gaming compacts. Now is another kind of gaming compact, like literal game. And it is honestly probably one of the most entertaining things I have ever seen. Tribes already don't have the best of relationships with the governor, and it's very notable of the Cherokee Nation to do so. I think recently Axios just did a video with the chief of the tribe, which I Austin Jr. And so, I mean, they're trying their absolute hardest to make sure that, Kim Teehee gets like sat nationally in Congress, which like Democrats, hello, where are you on this? But then I mean, it's like everybody against them. And we're on the side of the tribes, to be quite honest. Like, that's just where we're at because let's
Yeah. I
be
mean,
real, they run governments much better than a
yeah.
lot of us do. So, but I mean, Nick, let me ask you this: like, where do you see like Kevin Stitt moving on this within the context of like the election year? Like, is he going to pivot towards like trying to appease them, or does it seem like he's just going to go off the deep end?
Definitely not. No, I mean, this is like big jilted white guy energy, right? I mean, this
Yeah.
is like egomaniac freak stuff. Like, it's that thing that like the most annoying boss you've ever had did all the time is like, even when they're wrong, they just double down on it to just prove how big an asshole they are. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like the worst character trait, right? I mean, I have a lot of annoying people I like a lot, as people. Like, I just think they're like fun. But I can put up with like all sorts of personality weirdness and differences. I just cannot stand people who are like that. Like the double down, even when they're wrong, because it's just they have to be, right or in charge or king or whatever he thinks he is. And like I've got highlighted the tribe's responses to this. And I mean, they're just like thoughtful, reasonable, pointing out like this is why you're wrong, this is why it's no good. And of course, I mean, Stitt's a complete freaking hypocrite because he's approved these in the past and complimented them and said how they work, and now he's just doing it because he's mad, and he thinks he'd get something for it, I guess.
Well, I mean, Cherokee Nation, some of their ancestors did try to make sure that his family stayed off the rolls. So,
Still
historically,
mad about it.
I mean, there's still beef. There's still beef, which, like,
But the thing is, there wasn't, right? I mean, like at first, he kind of ran on that. Like he was like, I'm actually a tribal citizen, so like, you know,
and
this
he's
is
like,
like a thing. I mean, it's just they wouldn't, back to the gaming compacts, like they wouldn't do what he wanted, and I don't. I mean, yeah, and so he fights him. And now on McGirt, I mean, I think like what he's really worried about is the taxing. Like he is really worried that if you play McGirt out years down the line here, we're going to realize that, we don't have to give everything to the non-benevolent oil oligarchy that runs Oklahoma. Like we don't have to just drive corporate taxes to zero and pay CEOs tens of millions of dollars a year. I mean, we do that still, unfortunately, but we don't have to. And so that's what he's really worried about, and that's what
I'll say this: he did make an interesting point, and I keep saying this every time somebody brings up the call that he had with Deb Haaland in the Department of Interior. Was he asked the question of just like, if it doesn't stop here, where is it? Where does it like? Where does it go? Where does it end? Which here's my thing. I kind of do agree with that point a little bit, in which like we do not really know where that kind of ends. And to be completely honest with you, I think this whole conversation about land back and stuff like that is going to be won in the courts. It's not going to be through the executive or the legislative, because to be quite frank, the rest of the country does not have a great understanding of like what the land back movement or indigenous people's movement really looks like. Here in Oklahoma, we're in a unique position because like all of this, all of this, it has been segmented and separated between the tribes. But I'm interested to see where this goes. I'm honestly kind of excited to see where this goes, and I hope McGirt honestly gets exacerbated to a point that screws over a lot of the established white supremacy that we have in this country.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I infinitely trust the tribal governments as they stand to do a better job and to think this through better. I mean, yeah, I mean, even the McGirt stuff that's happened already. I mean, they're staffing up courts. They're trying to, prepare and be ready for what they need to do. So it's certainly far more proactive than like Oklahoma's government on many different issues. Thanks for watching our video. Please give it a like and hit that subscribe button for more content. If you want to engage with us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram.